Hey guys, what's up? Matt here. Today's video is for salespeople who want to get better at sales, for entrepreneurs who want to learn about their sales process and understand the process that they're taking their prospects through better. What I do is take the operations officer of Sales Sniper, Ben, who has absolutely no sales experience, and I explain to him in depth and in exhausting detail how we're going to make a sale. And he has all kinds of questions and twists and turns. So what I want you guys is to watch, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that kind of good stuff, and I will see you on the inside. Bye. So this is Ben. Ben is our operations manager and has no sales experience. Except he has a wife that's harder than him, so he must be good at something. So what we're going to be doing today is I'm going to walk Ben through a sales process and kind of like what we're thinking and what we're doing throughout the process, and then we're going to get a layman's, for lack of a better term, kind of questions, and then I think that should spark some good conversations in you guys. And yeah, so from there, so sales process, so NEPQ, right, stands for Neuroemotional Persuasion Questioning. That's Jeremy's methodology.
Yep.
Right, that's the one that he kind of taught us and all that kind of stuff. So he has a neuroscience background, so traditionally a lot of these sales methodologies kind of work against. So if you watch any of the old like boiler room movies, it's always like fuck the prospect and trick him into doing stuff and all that kind of stuff. So that's a really combative way of selling, and it kind of burns people out. So what Jeremy tried to do was like, he was studying human behavior and neuroscience at university when he was door knocking, and then that's where he was like, well, I'm asking people all these questions. That's kind of working against what natural behavior would do. So then he started to research like Socrates. He's fairly religious, so he did a lot of like the readings on the Bible and Jesus and all that kind of stuff about how he influenced and asked questions and got people to change their mind over things.
Yep.
And then Socrates is a big one as well, because it's all like, there's a great book called Socratic Selling, which is question-based selling, which is what we do. Right? So then from there, so that's kind of the methodology and the philosophy behind it. And then from there, NEPQ is essentially a series of like, it's just a paint by numbers of like steps.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So your first step is called the connection phase. Right? The connection phase is basically just designed to take the attention off the salesperson, and put it on the prospect. So if you can imagine yourself, you're in a sales environment, and then all of a sudden you walk into like the car yard, and the guy just starts spitting all the shit at you about the car, right? We don't want to do that, because that creates sales resistance. You know that feeling that you get when you're just like, fucking this guy, right? We want to avoid that, right? So what we want to do is not act like a salesperson. We just want to start asking a bunch of questions about the person and what they want, why they want it.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Makes sense.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Right. So once we kind of have that, we've established that like there is a problem here, like there is a problem, that they're looking for a solution.
Yep.
Like if the guy walks into a car dealership and he's looking for a motorcycle, we need to establish that relatively quickly.
Yep.
You know, but the way I don't want to do it is like, you know, I don't want to do a lot of salespeople and sales coaches. They teach to like set an agenda. So you get into a call. Let's say you walk into the dealership and I go, hey, the point of us talking today is to figure out if you're a good fit for one of our cars. So you can imagine you kind of get on the back foot straight away, because it's like, I'm a good fit for your car.
That's not what I'm here for. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, so we want to kind of figure that out. Then from there, right, we go into what's called the situation phase. Situation phase is essentially like, what are you currently doing about the problem that you're here to solve?
Yep.
So what are you currently doing about the problem that you're here to solve? Okay, so that can be asked in a bunch of different ways, but let's say you want to get sales coaching. Like that means you want to make more sales, right? Yep. So the self-evident problem is I want to get better at selling so I can make more money. What are you currently doing to get better at sales?
Yeah.
If I'm selling a car, okay, so like what kind of car do you currently drive? You know, and then I want to find out about your current car, the things you like and don't like about your current car, so then I can start to figure out like what I have in my inventory in the back of my head that I think would solve the problems that you have. Because like, why would somebody want a new car, right? There's a bunch of different reasons. Let's say they start making a ton more money, right? So status plays a big one. Let's say their wife's pregnant. Obviously, you're looking for a family wagon. If you're going from 2 to 3 kids, now you need an extra row of seating. right? So there's a whole bunch of issues and problems that we need to identify, but we don't want to start telling them what to do. We want to like get them to tell us.
Yep.
So we ask questions.
Yep.
Right? So, because if I tell you what your problem is, I tell you how to solve it, it doesn't mean much because I'm a sales guy. Right?
That makes a lot of sense, particularly to me. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, it's the same with, like, say, your partner, right? If you just tell your partner how to solve problems,
Yeah.
it doesn't really do much.
Yeah.
So, they either want support and acknowledgement of their problems, or they want to be able to work it out themselves. It's the old teach a man to fish, right? So anything that I say as the salesperson has relatively little impact, especially in like the first part of the process, because I haven't built enough trust.
Yep.
So I need them to say things. I need to ask questions which have answers that can move me down the process.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? So that's essentially the situation phase, right? So we've got connection, situation. Those are the first two steps. The third step is problem awareness. This is where we help them become aware in a more detailed area of what their problems are.
Yep.
Right? So there's essentially four main things that I want to get out of problem awareness. The first thing is, one, what is the problem? Let's just use the car as an example. I have no kids. I'm now having a kid. My current car is not sufficient in both like size or safety.
Yep.
Right? So it's like I need to fix that. That's the problem.
Yep.
How long has it been a problem, right? Or even how long until it becomes a serious problem, right? Like,
Yep.
you know, what time frames are we looking at?
Point. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Right, then we've got what's causing the problem, right? The current problem is, you know, the car or whatever. And then we have like what impact is that problem having or going to have?
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So what is the impact of having a car that's too small? You know, you have a 2-seater Mazda, like what
Yep.
happens if you don't figure out a way to kind of get a bigger car so you can, you know, that kind of stuff. You're like, well, fuck, I couldn't be able to do this, this, and this, right?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you start having a conversation around consequences
Uh-huh.
of not solving problems,
Yep.
which then that starts to create the urgency,
Yes.
right? A lot of people try to create urgency through scarcity. So it's like, man, if this is the last one in the lot,
Yep.
it's the only thing I've got, the next ones aren't coming in for 6 months, like you want to make a decision today.
Yeah,
And,
fear-based approach rather
Yeah.
than decision.
And when you get told that stuff, what do you immediately do?
No, stop, put the brakes on.
Yeah, exactly, because it
Yep.
just becomes a sales tactic at that point, right? So I want the person to create their own urgency. It's just a far more effective method because everything I say is garbage, what they say is gospel.
It's their choice.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. And then if they say things that are in my favor, I'll question them and make them defend.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? So
Yep.
if you're like, man, I really need to get this fixed in the next 2 months. Well, mate, like you can wait 6. Like it's no big deal. Like,
Yeah.
like why 2? Right? And they'll go, well, no, because, right? So I push back on you a little bit.
Yep.
You immediately dig in harder on your response.
Yeah.
That's human behavior.
I was going to say, yeah.
Right?
That makes a lot of sense, yeah. But
Right.
now they're arguing the point that you want them to argue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? And if they have a point that doesn't benefit the outcome that I want, I can choose to just ignore it
Yep.
and just, that never happened.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can spend the time to unravel it, to get them to unravel it.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yep.
which is a more skilled approach, more effective. But in the beginning of sales, like I would recommend we just ignore. You know?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
we just move on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Right?
you could get tied up into something there that you might not want to. Yeah.
And if you don't know how to do it, it can go so pear-shaped.
Yep.
You know? And you can just end up in this like hamster wheel of shit where you
Yep.
don't really go anywhere, right? So the next thing is going to be the solution awareness. So now we have the connection where we're asking about them, we find out what they're here for,
Yep.
and what problem they want to solve. Then from there, we go through the situation, which is what are you currently doing about the problem you'd like to solve.
Yep.
And we have the problem awareness, which is we explore the key areas of the problem, the impact, the time frames, the what, the where, the how, the why,
Yep.
essentially.
Yep.
Then from there, we're going to the solution. Now, the solution awareness is not really about like, it's about future pacing and discovering what an ideal solution for them looks like,
Okay.
right? And then like attaching a tangible and emotional benefit,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So if I use the car as an example, like let's say I'm the guy who's buying a car for status reasons, right? The guy walks into Mazda, he's just sold his business and he's buying a Lamborghini.
Lamborghini.
Right?
Yep.
Like there's no good reason to buy a Lamborghini. None whatsoever. But you should still definitely buy one if you can. Right? If you want one, you can definitely buy one. Right? And so like, you know, for that, like it's like I want to talk to you about your current car, things you like, things you don't like about it. Like why a Lamborghini? What's the ideal criteria you're looking for in a particular Lamborghini? Is there colors? Is there this? And then it's like I would then once I kind of get that detail, then I'll try and like solidify like emotional tangibles for them to attach them like a future memory to.
Yeah, emotional tangibles.
Yeah. So like, okay, man. Like I want you to do this. Like, let's say we're able to help you out find the Lamborghini of your dreams, right? And it's the orange with the black and this and this and this and this. Like, where's the first place you would take it for a drive?
Gotcha.
Right?
A tangible in your mind. Yeah. Makes sense.
So I'm trying to like create a future memory.
Yep. Yes.
Right? And then I'm asking about detail about that memory that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Right? Because like who would you call? Who's the first person you call when I give you the keys? I give you the keys, order it in, it all happens, brand new Lambo. Like who are you gonna call? I call my dad. Like why your dad? Because man, he's always there, you know what I mean? So then like we're starting to attach lots and lots and lots of emotion to the outcome. Yep. Right? Yeah, so a lot of people they try and play too much on the like never solving the problem.
Yep.
If someone has a really big problem, not in the case of Lamborghini, but in most cases, right? Then they'll just solve it.
Yes.
Right? If it means enough to them.
Yep.
So the people who we're speaking to, they haven't solved their problem yet. Therefore, it's not enough of a problem.
Yes.
Right? So what we then have to do is take the problem, and then we have to attach the solution, future pace the solution, get them really like for possibly the first time, like actually visualizing the future possibilities. Yeah. Because a lot of people don't actually do that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense, especially when it's a problem like that, it's a nice to have problem.
Yeah, exactly. But even like, let's say you want to get better at sales, or you want to get better, like, what does that mean? I want to take my commissions from 5K a month to 30K a month. Okay, at 30K a month, what do you do? What do you get? Where do you go? Yeah. What can you do with that level of time, money, and freedom that you couldn't do before? Yeah, so people don't future pace out. They don't really think about it. So when they do think about it, it becomes far more emotional, real, tangible. For sure. All that kind of stuff. And then when you ask questions that no one's ever been asked, like who would you call? Where would you go? Yeah. What's the first photo you take with your Lamborghini? When you get to $50,000 a month in commissions and you buy your dream home for your wife, and you call her to tell her that you just bought her the dream home, what does that call feel like? Yeah. That's a really interesting conversation, because then people look up and they start smiling and they're like, that would feel amazing. Yeah. Then from there, now I have to kind of smack them with reality and go with what you have now. How close are you to be able to do that?
Come back to where we are now.
So now I have to I've kind of built the gap, and then I have to kind of start to suck them back. Yeah. So I'm pushing them forward, thinking about the future, and then at some stage I have to go, which is the next phase, which is consequence phase. Right. Now it's what are the consequences of you never realizing that future? Right? A lot of people screw it up when they talk about the consequences of not solving the problem. Right. But the problem isn't serious enough for most people, which is why they've never solved it. Yeah. Yep. Right? So you're making it serious enough by talking them through all that steps and saying, and attaching a solution to it, a reality, right? Yep. Then from there, I suck them back and go whoop, like that. This is where you are. This is where you want to be. What happens if you never get there? If you don't do it, right? And then you actually make them. We make them go into the day-to-day ramifications of never achieving. Right? Yeah. And that's the key. It's not conceptually what's that like? Yeah. Oh, that'd be unfortunate. Because no. What's your day-to-day like if nothing changes? And then people have to sit down and think. Now they've thought about this, now they have to think about that. Yep. There's the two sides to the coin. Yep. Then from there, once we get a good consequence, we get a commitment. Once we get a commitment, a commitment to change, are you actually willing to start making some changes so you can get to X, Y, Z? Yep. So you can blah, 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 blah. Call your parents and tell them you bought a fucking Lamborghini or whatever. Then from there, you get hard yeses. Then I recap their problems, their solution, the consequence. Based on what you told me, I think that what we do might actually work. Correct. Right? Yep. Then we present or pitch, whatever it is you want to call it. And really then it's just about the whole presentation phase is locking up commitment on details in the program without being too detailed. Yeah, that makes sense. So would you then get a decision made at that point, or you're getting a commitment, which is just their willingness? Yep, I'm in. We're ready to go. Yeah. So I get a commitment to change. Yep. Then I go for the pitch, which is essentially where I'm asking for the sale. Right. Now I do my pricing at the top of the pitch.
Yep.
Because I hate going into a car yard when they don't have pricing on the
Sure.
window. I hate that.
Yep.
So to me, it's the same thing. I don't want someone to verify commitment to the program, because one of the questions you're going to ask at the end of the presentation is, hey, does this feel like it can get you from where you are to where you want to be? And if they don't have the context of the price, I feel like it's an awkward, they go, yes, but what does it cost?
Yeah.
And I feel like I have to justify,
Yep.
and I don't want to do that. So I just go, price at the top, here you go.
Yep.
Here it is. And then I take them through and I ask them to explain to me in a detailed fashion why certain parts of the program are really beneficial to them.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'll go, so do you feel like this could be the answer for you? You'll go, yes, almost always. And then you might say, but I will immediately interrupt you. Because if you think about it, people don't think then speak. They think while speaking.
Yep.
So I can stop language. I can stop talking. That stops thought.
Yep.
So the moment you start saying something I don't want, I interrupt you.
Yep.
Tactfully, like I don't do it rude and say anyway, but I just go, like, why do you think that? Then, so now they said yes. The rest of the thought is cut off. I say, why do you think that? Then you have to justify your own position.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? So essentially it's making them create an anchor
Yep.
as to why that solves the problem. Then from there, I'll ask for detail. Well, okay, like what do you think it is specifically that you feel like is, I don't know, the key to the castle for you?
Yep.
So now I'm asking for specifics, which makes them then think about the presentation I've just given them.
Yep.
And then pull out something that they feel is of most value.
Yep.
And then tell me why that's the most valuable. And I'll go, oh, okay, that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
That all makes a lot of sense. So they're pitching it back to you, basically validating why they've got to that point.
Yeah.
You've already assessed that they're willing and ready to commit, so they're making the decision.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then from there I go, how do you want to proceed from here?
Right.
That's a very like a lot of sales coaches would say you should never close that way because it's a far more difficult way of closing, but it's the most efficient method. So you might have heard this before, like a double buy and close, like Visa or MasterCard.
Okay.
So what I was taught originally when I'm in sales, I was like, okay, so do you want to do the payment plan or the paid in full? The payment plan. Okay, do you want to do the twice a week or 3 times a week, whatever? Okay, cool. Do you want to pay Visa or MasterCard? Right? Thinking that people are retarded and stupid enough to just bumble themselves into a sale.
Yeah.
Like they can pick all those things and still say no. Like it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
So I'll just say, how do you want to proceed from here? Which then opens every door to you. And then I never have to get combative, and it's a really easy process for me to have that conversation because at no stage do I ever box you in to making a definitive decision.
Yeah.
It's always, how do you want to proceed?
Yeah, that's right. So they're making a decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the decision can be to have an objection. That's fine. I want to think about it.
Yeah.
No dramas. I go through that. Then it's like I deal with that, deal with money. Okay, sweet. I just lock up the money side of things. How do you want to proceed from there? They go, yeah, that money sounds good. I just need to talk to my partner. Lock up the partner objection. Okay, how do you want to proceed from here?
Yeah.
They go, I want to think about it. And then after a little while, I'll switch over from how do you want to proceed from here to what do you need to do to put yourself in the best position to be able to achieve X, Y, Z. So I just make that shift.
Yep.
And then I can become more and more definitive with my language to do with that one question.
Right.
What do you need to do so that when you go to bed tonight, you're in the best possible position to be able to achieve X, Y, Z so you can put your kids in private school and get them out of the shitty public school they have now.
Yeah.
That's a very okay.
Yeah.
Right?
But you've built them up to that point, so it's nothing out of the blue for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? So that's essentially the sales process.
Yeah, right. Interesting. Cool.
Yeah. Have you got questions on any of that?
I got no, I haven't got questions. No, I think if I kind of regurgitate it back to you, then you can tell me if I've missed anything. But it seems, well, I'll just blurt it out. And I'm not going to use I'll use your headings where I remember them.
Yeah.
But essentially, your short story, you're trying to get someone to buy something, but you're doing it from an ethical point of view. So it needs to be a mutually beneficial relationship rather than just, hey, give me your credit card.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it needs to be mutually beneficial. So you need to understand where they are, and they need to understand what you have in your inventory, which was your words. So you go through a couple of processes and a line of questioning to reach a common understanding. Yes, essentially you're trying to either reinforce a relationship that you've already built through the lead flow sort of process, or to create a new relationship potentially if you haven't already done that. You got to validate that they're there for the right reason. So you're trying to sell X, Y, Z. Are you here to talk about X, Y, Z rather than oranges or something like that?
Yeah.
Initial step, and then you need to assess what their problem is, largely by questioning them, which you obviously have detailed processes for, but essentially you can question them, see what their problem is, see how they want to end up, where they want to end up, what the outcome is that they're trying to desire, and then see what's in your inventory to see if it matches up to that, which you kind of, I assume you already know that you've got something that you can give.
Yeah, that's a process thing, right? So they should sort of get to you at a stage where some of that stuff is sorted out.
Yeah, otherwise it could be a real big conversation.
Yeah.
So once you've done that, you figured out what the issue is now, where they want to be, what you can do to provide it for them. Then it's a matter of, I guess, mindset. They're largely of getting over whatever mental hurdles they've got to commit to it, both mentally and financially, I guess. So you go through some detailed problem solving with them on that. Cleverly, you build the picture in their own mind, and you get them to help build that picture so it becomes, what was your word, emotional tangible?
Yeah.
I like that. So now they've got that future vision, and they've felt it because you've asked them particular questions revolving around how they feel day to day, how it impacts them right now, at the granular level. And then they reach a point where they've either got other barriers that you can look at and address through a similar method, and then ultimately you get to a point where they understand what it is that you've got to offer, how it's going to fix their problem, and they are willing. If they're not willing, that's a problem. But if they're willing, then it's a matter of figuring out whether they can afford it or what they can do to be in a position to afford
resources versus resourcefulness versus logistics.
Yeah, but they want it. So
the key is to get someone to want it, right? And I think even if you don't get the sale, you don't take the payment. I say there are 5 levels of commitment, which is a paid in full is a full commitment. Payment plan is obviously a more tentative than a paid in full commitment, right? But it can be logistical reasons why they can't. Then from there, there's a deposit, right? Then there's a scheduled deposit or scheduled payment, and then there's a commitment to change with a follow-up. Sometimes, man, we're talking to Will today, and it was guy's 22 years old, broke, living in Serbia, and he's going to sell his car to do a program. It's he's got the commitment. That's a win. That's as much as a win as you can get on that particular instance, right? And so then you've got to be able to, as you get more senior in sales, be able to remove your emotion and your ego from the outcomes of the call and start to have a look at them more on a case-by-case basis and not freak out if you don't sell 3 or 4 people in a row, and then not get too excited if you sell 5 or 6 people in a row. You're not the God King of sales if you sell everybody in a week. You're not the worst sales guy in the world if you don't sell anybody in a week.
For sure.
It all evens out over the long term, generally speaking. And the better you get, it's like the stock market, it just kind of ticks up.
That makes sense.
You're going to
skills and
experience.
That makes a lot of sense.
So anyway, that's explaining sales to someone who has no sales experience and trying to convey what we do. And I think it's a really valid technique for you guys to do at home. To explain your process to someone, and you'll get better at explaining it. I'm very good at explaining this process, right? Because I've done it so many times, right? You guys might find it hard to articulate some of these things, and then you'll get asked a lot of questions because it won't make sense, right? So, and that will show you where the holes in your understanding of the concepts and the philosophies that you're trying to espouse within your sales are. So, comment, ask a friend down below, and, go through and literally ask your friend to see if you can show them your process, maybe even show them a sales call, and that will give you a much, much greater and deeper understanding of the sales process that you take people through every single day, which will make you better at it. All right, guys, don't forget to subscribe, notification bell, and thanks to Ben. Awesome.